What is interesting about Rahul Gandhi is that his discovery about himself has been played out in full public glare. All his existential dilemmas, from a reluctant heir to a full-time politician, has been caught by the ever-present, sometimes devoting, mostly critical eye of the media. And yet, very little is known about the private Rahul. That is something we are going to try and decode in this edition of Cover Story. What do you say about a politician who is forever a work in progress and yet goes on to head the country's oldest national party? To be fair to Rahul Gandhi, politics was clearly not his first choice of profession. It was his mother Sonia Gandhi who made this decision for him, and he did not let her down. However, he did lay some rules of engagement, the most prominent one being that he would only take responsibilities within the party, be it as General Secretary or party president, only when he was ready. And his way of getting ready was to embark on a series of tours to get to know the India that he'd only caught glimpses of while growing up. Only problem is that he took a little over a decade to do all this.
No, for 10 years he realized that the leadership was in the hands of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Dr. Manmohan Singh, and he didn't feel like interfering, rightfully so. He felt that he has to give the right signal, and that can only happen if he doesn't interfere, which I thought was a right thing to do.
Ever since his debut in 2004, there was pressure on Rahul Gandhi to play a larger role. As is the norm with the Gandhi science, his dad Rajiv and uncle Sanjay, he too had a soft landing. Sanjay Gandhi began with the youth wings, while Rajiv Gandhi was given the Asian Games project. And so, Rahul too was given the youth wings to cut his leadership teeth with. However, he did himself no favours and almost immediately made the party's revival in Uttar Pradesh his pilot project. This, as you know, is a state where the party has been out of power since 1989 and was no easy task. The Uttar Pradesh portfolio has now been handed over to his sister Priyanka. The brother and sister enjoy a close equation, which is not surprising given their backstory. Both studied at boarding schools, she at Welham Girls and he at the Doon School in Dehradun. But after the grandmother's assassination in 1984, they were homeschooled. Later, Rahul enrolled for a brief period at St. Stephen's, after which he went on to study at Harvard and then Trinity College, Cambridge, from where he did an MPhil in development studies.
I remember getting ragged in St. Stephen's near the big tree there. So that was a memory there. And I remember my professor of history giving us some lectures in St. Stephen's College. That was interesting. He had some particular ideas, different type of ideas. That was when I was at Stephen's. When I went to the United States, I got quite a cultural shock when I went to American universities. I was in Harvard University and I was shocked at how aggressively they asked questions and how the teacher was, or the professor was, almost 24/7 under attack. And he had to be very careful what he said compared to our history professor, who everybody in the class basically listened to, believed, and didn't really question. So I saw that big difference.
Those at St. Stephen's remember him walking to college with his SPG at a discreet distance behind him. He got into history honours at Stephen's through the sports quota for his shooting skills and was often spotted training at the Aravali ranges near Delhi. In fact, when he was ragged, he was often asked to pretend either that he was at a shooting range with a mock rifle or else propose to a colleague in a unique and different manner. This was in 89-90, and there were many who wanted to rag the son of a former Prime Minister. Interestingly, it was Priyanka who once confessed in a candid conversation at an event in Kolkata that while she was used to making conversation with heads of states, the very first day of college unnerved her because she never interacted with her peers. Perhaps Rahul felt the same, for he comes across as even more introvert and reticent than his sister.
What is Rahul according to me? First, he's a young, energetic, well-read, well-educated, good-looking person in good health. He's a pilot. He's sort of black belt or whatever he does. He's a great shooter, I'm told. Okay. He has multiple skills that very few people know. For example, people don't know he's a pilot. He's also techie. He's good with all the equipment. He flies robots, for example. Okay. Drones and all. Okay. So, he is a modern man. He has been abroad. He was educated abroad. So, he has seen the world. He is well traveled. Okay. So, you got to look at that man as a modern man. And sometimes that doesn't fit in the Indian equation. Okay. Nobody talks about these things. Okay. He's very good at analytical ability, thought process. And many times people don't see the depth of his thought. So immediate reaction would be, oh, I think that's not a good idea. I don't agree. Okay, but once you go deeper and deeper into it, you get convinced. I had those experiences a couple of times. My first reaction was, well, I think he's wrong. Then once you get into it and you realize that you were wrong.
Can you give us an example?
And he was right. Well, there are several examples, at a personal level, but I really don't talk about it on camera. But they're at a personal level, judgment on people, okay, judgment on incident, okay. It's good. It's good depth.
To know that your grandmother was assassinated by the very guards who played badminton with you, and then see your father being assassinated cannot be easy. Which made me wonder if Rajiv's kids have some trust issues. Is this why Rahul prefers his own team of trusted aides working from his office instead of the average party worker? The same was said of Rajiv Gandhi too, that he preferred his Doon school chums to the party apparatus. I asked this question to Sam Petroda, someone who was one of Rajiv's closest friends and knows Rahul since he was a kid. More important, Petroda is part of the Congress Party's manifesto committee and heads the overseas wing of the party.
It's hard for me to, put myself in his shoes. You have to go through that to really understand. All we can do is guess. Okay. But he trusts people. In spite of all this, he does trust people. But he had two big shocks in life at very early age. Grandmother and father. It's not easy. Okay. We can theorize it, we can talk about it, but to be in that position is pretty tough. And to be able to come out of that position and still be normal and still want to do and give for public service is a big sacrifice.
Rahul has still retained his boyish air, though there have been many makeovers in the middle, especially when he went through his angry young man phase, growing a beard and tearing up ordinances. But finally he seems to have settled down to his original self, an earnest dynast who wears his heart on a sleeve.
When you're my age, yes, sir, and you're talking to students, they call you sir, you feel uncomfortable. I'll tell you why. Because I'm at that age where, there's a gap between me and you. And I remember that place. So I remember when people like me used to come and I used to say, sir. So call me by my first name. Call me Rahul. That makes me more comfortable. So first step is acceptance of a problem. Second step is to galvanize everybody and say, listen, we have to fight this problem. So that is where I have an issue with them. Has the Prime Minister ever come and had a conversation with you like this? Has it ever happened? Now I'm coming here, right? You can ask me unpleasant questions. You can say to me, you can. Because I fully understand that there might be people here who might have questions for me that would be difficult to answer.
But has he waited too long and done one makeover too many? Rahul's political career had a dream debut. With his dimpled charm, public school manners and Kennedysque legacy of power, glamour and tragedy, he soon became a darling of the media. But it was a legacy he wasted for the first 10 years by refusing to engage. And today, when a disappointed India has moved on to another narrative where a chaiwala has more appeal than a pedigreed dynast, Rahul has decided he wants to connect. There are those in the Congress who wish that Rahul had been more proactive in the UPA years and had at least been part of Manmohan's cabinet if not taken the leadership mantle.
As soon as he becomes a minister or someone, people would start interpreting that as interference. Okay? Because the kind of position he has been in, no matter what he does, people will find something to criticize. So it is better to have a clear distance. As soon as you are a minister in Prime Minister's cabinet, other people would feel that you will have more weight, you will, drive the agenda. And I'm assuming that this was his thought. Okay, I'm just assuming.
After the UPA loss in 2014, several Congress leaders met Rahul and told him two things. One, that it is okay to be pro-poor, but not at the cost of being anti-industry and anti-middle class. Rahul is said to have replied that the one reason he took up the cause of the poor was that the rich and corporates could meet the UPA ministers while the poor had no such access. The second thing that was told to him was that though the Congress was a rainbow coalition of SCs, STs and minorities, the dominant feeling was that these sections were getting priority over the majority. The Congress has single-handedly handed the Hindu vote, which was assiduously wooed by his grandmother, to the BJP on a platter. Well, however, it is okay to be well-meaning if you are running an NGO. Rahul Gandhi has often said that he sees politics as a heart thing, as a soul thing. But there is much more to the world of politics than that. There is the world of NGOs, the world of loan waivers, the world of RTI and the world of women reservations. But there is also the cut and thrust of Realpolitik. One without the other is a leader without a strategy and will perhaps meet the fate of a rudderless boat even on the calmest of waters floating adrift. However, it is not enough to just criticize the Modi government. Rahul also has to put forward a vision as to what he and the Congress stand for. What are his plans to bring back jobs for the education and the health sector?
Congress does need to come up with a credible narrative, which, this is my personal opinion, that has to go beyond just criticizing the BJP or Narendra Modi. I think today's voters, and I say this across, not just in India, but perhaps in the world as well, simply expecting people to vote for a political party because they're disillusioned with the incumbent is not a strong enough strategy for any political party to deploy. A political party has to obviously leverage those tailwinds of an anti-incumbency factor and then provide its own narrative, its own story, an economic vision, a social vision. There has to be obviously elements of hope, leveraging on the party's experience, leveraging on the party's credibility.
Of late, Rahul has been trying to address this issue during his many interactions. While in 2014 he used to simply say that he has no magic wand to solve the country's problems, now, this time round, he is trying to articulate a more solution-oriented vision.
Well, first, tell me what do you think of demonetization? Did you like it? Did you like demonetization?
No, sir. No.
Do you think it was a good economic decision?
No.
So I think it's pretty clear the damage demonetization did. It's a pity that the Prime Minister didn't come and take your advice before he did demonetization because he would have got the right answer, one or two things. You can't have a negative, fearful atmosphere in the country. You can't have an atmosphere of discrimination in the country and then expect economic growth. Economic growth is directly related to the mood of the country. So the first thing we would do is we would change the mood of the country. We would move the country to a place where people feel empowered, happy, and to a place where people relate with each other in a pleasant, loving way. That's the first thing we do. The second thing we do is, we feel that the GST that has been imposed on the country is too complicated and it has too many different layers. There are 5 different layers of tax. This makes life very difficult for small and medium businesses, shopkeepers, and young entrepreneurs. Hopefully you might become one someday, successful one. So we are going to reform the GST and we're going to make it one simple tax. The state must support your education, and much more money should be going into the education budget than is going into it today. And you can see a steep decline in the amount of money that is going into education today compared to when we were in government. It's a massive decline. You can also look at the numbers and you'll see that when we were in power in UPA, we opened more than 24 universities. Do you know how many universities have been opened over the last 5 years? One. Yeah. So that's the point. We believe that government has to support education, government must support healthcare. Because without these two, we are not moving forward. And the BJP is convinced that you can use private industry to support education, and privatization is the key to education. We don't believe that. That's broadly. And then when I say the government should support, I mean making bank loans easier, scholarships, adding numbers of universities and colleges, pushing school enrollment.
In the run-up to 2019, not only did Rahul embrace his inner Hindu, visiting temples and disclosing to the media that he'd always been a Shiv Bhakt, he's also making it clear that there is a distinction between the soft Hinduism espoused by him vis-a-vis the hard-line 56-inch chest-beating Hindutva of the BJP. This, he says, is also what took him across the aisles one fine parliament morning to hug his arch-enemy, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
He is zen about many things in life. Okay. That's part of his training. He does Vipassana and he goes to meditation and all that. Okay. It is not that he doesn't have killing instinct. Okay. But he's zen about things. Okay. You can't run politics like an NGO. He knows that. Okay. Politics is not an NGO. In NGO, you don't constantly distribute favors and people are asking for this and people are asking for that. In politics, you do come across that. And sometimes you get tired of it because everybody comes to you for something. Whenever somebody comes to you, he wants something from you. We need people who want to give as opposed to people who want to take. So I'm sure anybody in his position would get tired of people who want to take more and more and more.
This explanation aside, Rahul's aides also add that Rahul sees the Congress as being a more feminine party than the BJP. This, of course, is feminine in the liberal sense of the word, where the Congress comes across as a more liberal, sensitive outfit than the BJP. This could be the impact of his Vipassana meditation sessions and Buddhism, a path that incidentally his sister introduced him to. In addition, Rahul's friends also point out that he's deeply influenced by Gandhiji. He's certainly fond of quoting the Mahatma and even has his sayings on his desk at home.
जब मेरी दादी मरी, जब मेरी दादी की डेथ हुई, तो मेरे पापा बंगाल में थे. और फ्रैंकली मेरी जो दादी थी वो मेरे लिए एक प्रकार से मेरी मां से भी ज्यादा थी, क्योंकि मेरी माँ थोड़ी स्ट्रिक्ट थी, मेरी माँ मतलब डिसिप्लिनेरियन थी घर में, और मेरी दादी के पीछे मैं जाके छुप जाता था। तो एक प्रकार से मुझे प्रोटेक्शन मिलता था। जब मेरी दादी मरी तो मैं बिल्कुल डिस्टर्ब हुआ। और पापा बंगाल में थे और मुझे काफी गुस्सा था अंदर जब मेरी दादी की हत्या हुई, क्योंकि मेरी दादी की हत्या आपको मालूम हो ना हो, मगर मेरी दादी की हत्या उनके सिक्योरिटी वालों ने की थी, और वो सिक्योरिटी वाले मुझे जानते थे। एक्चुअली एक प्रकार से मेरे दोस्त थे। मुझे मतलब सतवंत सिंह ने, जिसने मुझे मेरी दादी को गोली मारी, उसने मुझे बैडमिंटन सिखाया। तो मुझे गुस्सा था, मगर जब मेरे पापा आए और मेरे पापा मुझसे गले लगे, एकदम गुस्सा चला गया।
But all this talk of live and let live be aside, let's not forget that this is election time and Rahul is certainly not running an NGO. In his interviews, he may talk about politics being a heart thing, a soul thing, but of late he's also shown to his rather relieved Congress leaders that when the need arises, he can roll up his sleeves and get his hands dirty in the give and take of Realpolitik. As he did soon after the Karnataka state polls, when the BJP was the single largest party, but before it could stake claim, Rahul had moved fast and the Congress tied up a seat-sharing deal with the JDU. Another bugbear with Rahul is that when he gets hold of a topic, he doesn't let go. Earlier, the fascination was with the RSS. Every speech of his was an attack against the Saffron organization, down to comparing it to the ISIS. Of late, his bugbear is the Rafale deal. He is determined to fix the tag of corruption on the Prime Minister directly, even though there is a section of the Congress that feels that this is not working. There is the fight personal, for don't forget that Rahul's dad was targeted in the Bofors gun deal, only to be exonerated by the courts later on.
The Prime Minister of the country himself has his name in government documents which are saying that he is directly responsible for negotiating parallelly with the Dassault company on Rafale. The CBI director at 1:30 at night is sacked. The Supreme Court says, bring the man back. The man is brought back. The Prime Minister sacks him again. The President of France says, the Prime Minister of India has told me personally himself in a meeting that Mr. Anil Ambani should get the Rafale contract. Nothing's happening. The Prime Minister doesn't comment about it. Everybody knows that the Prime Minister has stolen 30,000 crores and given them to Mr. Ambani. The whole country knows it. But why is there no investigation? Investigate everybody. Investigate Mr. Vadra. I'm the first person to say it. Right? But investigate the Prime Minister. And be absolutely crystal clear. Mr. Narendra Modi, for 1 minute, hasn't opened his mouth on Rafale.
Well, we're going to take a short break, but stay with us because after the break, we're going to come back and continue this narrative of decoding Rahul Gandhi. Hello and welcome back to a cover story special on Rahul Gandhi. And just as it is very difficult to look at the calm waters of the Dal Lake and decode the emotional turmoil of the valley, it is as difficult to take a look at the political history of Rahul Gandhi, a politician who's been around 10 years, but only now has this air become apparent. Ever since December 2017, when he took office as party president, the Congress has seen a more engaged Rahul, who is leading from the front. His leadership is visible to the media as well. For now, they're getting used to getting last-minute messages from the party office talking about an impromptu, sometimes even a late evening presser. At each PC, Rahul reminds us that unlike the Prime Minister who's not held a single press conference in office, he, however, is ready to engage.
न्याय स्कीम पर जो भी आप मुझसे पूछना चाहते हो आप पूछो। कल परसों मैं आपका प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस करूंगा, फिर जो दूसरे सवाल आपने पूछने आप पूछ सकते हो।
मोहित दुबे,
मैं देखिए प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस तो करता हूं, मैं तो करता हूं।
This is certainly Rahul's most convincing and credible makeover, but has he left it too late? At least for the 2019 elections, when the BJP asked Modi versus whom, the Congress answer doesn't find too many buyers, least of all from the opposition allies. Regardless, Rahul Gandhi has let it be known that he is no longer a reluctant politician and he would go by whatever mandate the voter throws up. Publicly, he says his first task is to defeat Modi, but he also knows at the same time he has to rebuild the party and not piggyback on state-level alliances. This contradiction was most visible when the Congress stayed away from the Mahagathbandhan in UP initially and even refused Akhilesh and Mayawati seats in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh. Well, this certainly has been Rahul Gandhi's most credible makeover. But has he left it too late? For when the BJP asks Modi versus whom, will the voters of India find their answer in Rahul Gandhi? And if they don't repose their complete faith in him, can he then at least convince his allies in the Mahagathbandhan to make up for the shortfall in the numbers? Therein, I suspect, lies a crux of a very existential question whose answer is more political than philosophical. But from us, that's all this week. Thank you for watching this show. We'll see you again, same time next week.